We have like 7 total subscribers to the podcast.
Yeah,
nobody's going to hear this anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Well, when I post it, she might. But she's also kind of up in the air because it's like I might leave at any second. So
She's not taking you serious either. Then
I don't know. But,
I don't think anybody
also
really takes you seriously, especially now as the dunking nomad, which
that is the title.
I'm gonna change my Instagram handle then.
That is going to be
the
the
dunking
title
nomad.
of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to take credit for it as well.
I thought, Kyle, I was kind of thinking it was going to be the one because I remember Jake a while ago. Somebody responded to something on your Instagram, and you just responded back to this person, and you were like, well, "You sound stupid and soft," or something like that. And Kyle just sent me that story that you posted, and he just responded and just went, "Jake is a national treasure." So I thought that was going to be the podcast title for today.
It was literally somebody in your DMs I don't even know what they were talking about, but all you put was soft.
Yeah.
And they said something else, and you put even softer or something like that. I was just like,
was it the Zercher? I think it was the Zercher.
That was one of them. That was the Zercher.
Yeah, because he was like, "What would you say if it is uncomfortable on the elbows?" And I was like, "Don't be soft." And then he was like, "Okay, what would you say to a novice trainee?" And I was like, "Don't be soft." And then he unfollowed me.
Yeah. I could see where that would happen just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you get these questions like they ask the question, they know the answer already.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And maybe like 5 years ago, I would take the time to maybe develop that relationship, but I don't care anymore. You know, I got enough people that like my stuff. I don't need this random guy that's like, "Hey, how do I? This kind of hurts my knee. A 1 out of 10. How should I change it?" Like, I don't know. Don't train. Stay home.
just quit.
You're on the wrong program.
Yeah, you should probably just quit.
Hypertrophy clusters, not for you. Just
buy my ebook. That's it. You just got to start going like full Seedman and just be like, read the article, or just buy my book, and that's how you respond to everything now.
And I'll cite myself. I'll cite
exactly.
Jake Tuura, the admin, Nomad, all my different personalities.
Oh yeah. Well, that's there's a guy on my profile now who came about, I don't know, probably a month ago, but now he comments on every one of my posts, but asks a question completely unrelated to the post itself. And the one time that I answered, I was like, "Hey, like we covered this whole thing in the group mentorship." And he's like, "Oh no, that's too expensive for me. I'm just going to keep asking questions here." And now I just ignore him. I'm like, "You fucker." Like, I'm not answering anything you ask.
Oh no, I don't want to pay you.
I just want
your information for free.
I just want free advice for my personal problems, on social media.
Yeah,
friends.
dude, I don't get it. I don't understand how people can be like that.
That's why, the frequently asked questions section on DMs now, I changed mine to, "Will you help me for free? And can I send you unsolicited videos of my lifts?" So those are my 2 frequently asked questions. So whenever I get people who click one of those, I'm just like, delete, get out. I'm not looking at you.
Dude, I get it for jump technique, look at my jump technique and I'm just like, looks good. Keep jumping. I'm like, do the same thing, but do it for months and years. You're good.
Yeah. How do I get better at jumping? Well, you keep jumping.
Have you just tried being better?
Have you tried jumping more?
It's like, no, actually your technique sucks, and I'm going to add 15 inches to your vertical immediately.
Yeah. Buy my ebook.
Or you could just even one up that back. Here's the one thing that I would change, and then never respond to them again. So they're always like, "What's the one thing?" There was one simple trick.
Link in bio.
You need to have the so we've got we have a fuck you link on our Calendly, which is like the consultation, the DM consultation for Instagram when people ask too many questions. It's like, "Hey, let's just go ahead and book a consultation, send them the link, and then they click on it, and there's a $1,000 paywall."
And it's literally a 5-minute call. They're like, "What? $1,000?"
I think I got the wrong link. And you're like, no. You got the right link, actually.
Yeah, dude, it is crazy. I get that too. It's like people like, "Hey, can we hop on a call sometime to talk training?" Like, well, maybe if you're like really established and you can help me out here, but you're like, what do I get out of this? I can have these conversations with anyone, and you probably have no clue. Like, where's my, what do I get?
Yeah,
Give me something,
There's no reciprocal
there's no
nature
exchange
to
of
the
value.
call at
There's just
all. Yeah.
yeah, just leeching value. Yes.
Like, no, I just want to use your time and your information and provide nothing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to post about all of your stuff on Instagram, and I'm not going to tag you in it, and I'm going to act like I came up with all of it.
And I'm
then,
the
yep.
dunking nomad.
And then it's like, yeah, they're like, what type of load should I use for leg extension? I'm like 70%, 1 RM. You know, they're like, what's a RM? Like, dude, go away. So now it's like, okay, 30 to 45 seconds, and you should be failing at 30 to 45 seconds. I can't make it any simpler than that. There's no RMs involved.
It's amazing.
If you haven't thrown up yet, you're not working hard enough.
Yeah.
So I think we should take
ahead.
an opportunity to introduce our guest, because we've been recording for like 5 minutes now without anybody knowing who's on. So Jake, thank you for joining us today. Could you take a minute to introduce yourself and tell the people who you are, what you do, and like just a little bit about you?
Yes. Okay. So retired college strength coach, because most college strength coaches make bad money and work a lot of hours and deal with people that don't really like lifting, and deal with there's many different disciplines that make you less effective, and I'm convinced a lot of them keep their job because they just have they can't do anything else. You know, it's all that they know. So I left because I have the online business that made me more money, and now I just traveling and dunking basketballs and getting glazy at the gyms, and still learning about patellar tendon, because I deal with left side patellar tendinopathy here and there. It used to be my right side, and then it jumped over there, and then some patellofemoral pain. So the thing is, those injuries really suck. But anyone who will ever tell you that you should just have healthy knees and you can continue to push the limits of performance of vertical jump, whatever, are completely lying to you. That the higher that you jump and the better you get at anything, the more likely your patellar tendons or your patellofemoral is going to blow up. So it's kind of a blessing that I'm still dealing with it. It obviously sucks because I go out and dunk and it's like you're not jumping as high, you deal with pain the next day. But I'm forcing me to learn. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now.
You just need to find your left heel,
or
I found the left heel. It's there.
Have you tried a longer pendulum step?
Well, dude, yes.
Have you tried walking in retro step for your dunk, running backwards for it, maybe?
I spent 60 minutes finding the left heel and getting a left hamstring, and then I jumped lower.
Well, I mean, that's expected.
And pain was more. And pain was more.
That's also expected. New position, you don't know how to do it yet. It's okay. We can coach you through for only like 3 sessions of $200 each. We'll be good.
Okay. So it's like taking if I can Zertra squat 450 and then making me Zertra squat 20 pounds.
Yes.
The typical recommendation is, like, the standard for strong people is 95. We just put you on a 45-degree slant board to do it.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't make sense, but I'm sure.
We're just going to go 25% 1 RM, if you know what that means, if you're aware of what the RM means, and put you on a slant board.
You decrease your load as much as possible, because that's how you're going to injure yourself. Lifting is dangerous, Jake. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah. So that's where I am. You know, patellar tendon is a little sore, patellofemoral is a little bit sore. So, you know, I love dunking, but I just don't want to be in pain. So I'm just going to find a nice couch and I'm just going to, you know, do Netflix marathons the rest of my life.
Nice. Very nice.
That is the solution to knee pain. That is how to bulletproof your knees. Never use them.
Just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Never do anything.
Well, actually, I was thinking, like, I've never really wore the knee braces, but I mean, they must have a bulletproof knee brace now, because this phrase doesn't make sense outside of that. You know, there must be a knee brace that is bulletproof that can withstand someone shooting you in the knee.
Yeah. If not, I think we just found your next marketing opportunity. You have ebooks, right? You're the dunking nomad, and now you can have a Kevlar knee brace, which will protect you not only from the pains of jumping, but potential drive-bys depending on where you're playing ball.
I mean, you did just talk about how your basketball was stolen from you. So I don't
in
know
Long Beach. So if you're in sketchy areas, that Kevlar knee brace might come in
very handy.
Yeah. I might restrict mobility though. So yeah, it's
of course.
Well,
Yeah.
but it also might be like a knee sleeve, which kind of acts like, it might even propel you into more and better extension.
Yeah.
It might add a resistance curve.
Oh, even better. We could do like knee wraps with it, right? So we just get the knee wraps super, super, super tight, so that he has to like almost load himself to bend his knees and sit down, and then he launches up even higher. Perfect.
We got it.
Okay.
It's basically like it's like a squat suit or a slingshot. I'm actually surprised like Mark Bell hasn't devised this yet, but it's kind of like a slingshot for your dunks.
He's been waiting for you to do this, Jake. That's
He
what it
has been.
really
There's a
is.
partnership opportunity here too.
But yeah, okay. But well, it makes me think if there's a slingshot because it makes you go out, we would need a slingshot to make you go in.
Well,
the knees come together.
That's
where you come in.
That's where you come in.
Yeah, that's where you come in, man.
Okay.
Have you just tried squeezing a foam roller while you're jumping? This isn't so hard. We have all the solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna need.
We can fix all your problems.
I'm gonna need business partners and also a big upfront investment.
Yeah. Well,
with no guarantees.
We'll consult. Like,
Okay, that's fair.
For a small fee, for a reasonable fee.
I guarantee you, somebody listening to this podcast has already got their checkbook out.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
now. They're ready
for it. They're
I
ready.
don't need any skin in the game from anyone else involved.
So, what's your day-to-day like now?
Day to day, well, it really depends because so I did rugby strength coach was doing this continuing education thing. So for a while there, I just worked all day on this vertical jump. Well, not vertical jump, like jump plyometric training for team sports. It was like a module thing. So it was like 90 minutes of me trying to put the last decade of knowledge into this thing, which was one of the most miserable things I've done because it was so painful to put this in a system that made sense. And I hope it made sense. But so I did that. So very purposeful for about 2 weeks, just doing that for the majority of the day and brain dead every day. And then I get that done and I just kind of wake up and it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing now. No clue what I'm doing now. And then for a while it was like YouTube videos on patellar tendinopathy because there's always some new concept on patellar tendinopathy. So I would spend that day making 1 or 2 YouTube videos to make sense of this very simple thing. And then some days, it's dunk sessions, meet up with other people. Some days go to the beach, pretty much do whatever I want. But when I have the days where it's like I don't really know what's coming next, it's kind of like for myself, I need to have a purpose. Probably most people, but I need to have a purpose, or I get kind of like depressed. Like, what is the point of my existence?
It's hard being a dunking nomad.
Yeah,
just chasing the glaze.
It's either you dunk. Well, that's the problem. You have to separate the two. Like if you get a glaze, if you get an upper body glaze and then you go dunk, it's not going to be that good, and you're also not going to look that big because the blood's going to your legs. So it's like you have the day where either you're going to be dunking or you're going to be lifting lower body, and then the next day you got to carb up properly, and then the next day you can get the glaze on. But it's always tough to mix the two. You can never really mix the two.
I think this is actually how Charlie Francis devised the high-low model. Glaze days and dunking days. Is that in the book?
I think so. He's like, which day am I going to the beach? So I need to look the most jacked
I'm
here.
almost positive that was the impotence behind that. We'll ask Derek when we have him on.
Yeah.
If
he would know for sure.
If he was considering glaze days and dunk days during.
Well, I would say glaze days and bounce days. That would make more sense. Yeah.
Fair,
if you're the terminology is really important to get right. So
well, you don't want too much specificity, but the bounce works. Yeah,
and the glaze is also individual because depending, you got where your body parts are small. It might be just shoulders, bicep, tricep, and if you're just a peasant all around, you don't get any isolation work. Very little isolation work. It's just bench press, pulling exercises, overhead presses. You got to actually move some weight. If you're going to be doing delt raises for 5 pounds, that's at the end. But yeah, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve isolation yet. Sorry.
I can live with that. I think that's, yeah. I feel like right now looking at you in the Zoom, you're telling me physically that I don't deserve it. And I think that's definitely what Matt is thinking as well. But
for sure.
I'm okay.
And if you can't bounce, if you got no bounce, you got no bounce on the 10-foot rim, get rid of the ego, go to a 9-foot rim, even use a girl's ball, because I'm not going to do a dunk session with you where you can hardly dunk on 10. You're just going to bring me down and be like, yo, can we be done yet? It's like, that's the hardest thing. I probably found like I probably found 3 or 4 people in my life that can vibe properly with the dunk session. Yeah.
So what does an average dunk session look like for you then? If anybody else thinks like out here thinks they can vibe with you on a dunk session.
Well, you have to be able to dunk first.
That's a prereq.
Obviously,
yeah,
it's a prereq.
So that will usually mean that you're a male, because I don't know many females who can dunk. And because you're a male, you have, well, I would say on average, you have more of an ego. So if like you're performing not as good, or you're just not, it's very easy for you to get moody and try to ruin the vibe for me. So usually it would have to be someone better than me that's dunking better than me, which is kind of easy to find because I'm 6 foot tall, and most of these guys are 6'3", 6'4". So that's my first excuse. They're taller than me. That's why they dunk better. And I'm 220, and these guys are like 170, 180, 190. So that's my second excuse. They're a twig. And what's the third excuse? I think that's the only excuses I have. But okay, the typical dunk session, what it used to be, I could go in cold, be fine. And now it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes shooting around. Like, I got to get warm. If I go in and jump as high as I can, I'm feeling it in my knees immediately because I just got old. But usually it's pickup basketball. If I can play some pickup basketball, games of 21, something like that, for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, my best dunks come right after that. But if I have to go out by myself and dunk, because for myself, like I'm really motivated by like dopamine spikes, being around people, encouragement, all that stuff. If I go up by myself, it's so easy to have an awful dunk session and just call it after 5 minutes. But if I can get with a person, always much better. But again, you get with the wrong person, then it makes it completely worse, and you're usually going to get with the wrong person.
Yeah,
because dunking is just so rare, and every guy has an ego. So if I could have a rim, if you could have my rim, and then have a rim that's 6 inches lower, and also have a girl's ball for them to dunk, and then I dunk on this one, that would work okay. But no guy would be willing to do that,
Like, no, I got the big one. I can get up there.
It's very true. I completely agree though. We always, like, even in college, like, you do like you have a 2-hour practice, and you'd be jumping the best after that. Like, it's like the non-specific warm-up of actually playing was really what you needed from that respect. But yeah, so are you going to come to St. Louis? I mean, San Diego's nice, but if you come to St. Louis, we can have a dunk session.
Kyle will dunk on you.
Come to St. Louis just for that, and deal with the crime. And probably bad weather.
You're stereotyping my entire city right now.
And then I'll come out just for that. We'll get a dunk session, like 30 minutes. You'll get a call from your family that you got responsibilities. You'd be like, sorry, I got to go. And it's like, wow, drove all the way out here for a 30-minute dunk session. I didn't even get warm. I didn't even get one dunk in, and you already got to go. Okay.
I could block out like an hour. Okay. Like, I have responsibilities, but they're not that crazy. We might even be able to go to a calendar.
He could open up some slots on.
We might even go to a playground where my kids can play, and then I got like 2.5, 3 hours.
What are your statistics? Your height, weight?
6'4". This morning, Matt, you'll be proud of me. I was 220.8.
Oh wow!
So I'm taller than you, but I am at least over the 220 mark.
Well, that's hardly. Is that even 100 kilo?
Still a twig though.
Is that even 100 kilo?
That is exactly 100 kilo.
Oh, it is.
In Kyle's conversion, it's actually like 600 kilos because he's really bad at the conversions.
It's not 6. It would be like 105 kilo.
Yeah, he's really bad at math.
We're gonna round it up a little bit.
Okay? We got to get the Yukon Gold dunking though.
There's zero chance that Matt's ever gonna dunk.
You can get me, like, if I'm 6'3", 265. So if you guys could get me to dunk, that would be pretty impressive.
6'3", Okay, can you please
like
actually?
A hippopotamus just flying through the air. Like,
I need a video of Matt trying to touch the rim.
Okay, I was just gonna ask. Yeah, can you sometime after the show, Matt, go out and go to a rim and just run up to it and jump? I just want to see how awful the technique looks. I just want to see how embarrassed I can be for you.
I can try. I can DM you one. Yeah.
DM. I'm saying like no, because I want to share. I want to share it publicly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
With a tag. I think the craziest thing about
hashtag
Matt,
vertical jump protocol, and like, this is my results. Just torpedo your entire business.
Yes, and be like baby penultimate works. And you jump in like 3 inches. Please do. Yes.
The best thing is Matt actually has like massive calves too, which I still always make fun of him because if you see him, you're like, there's an athlete in there. There's not an athlete in there at all. I think back when you were fighting, I think that the athlete was there, but that was 80 pounds ago.
What did you do?
So I used to do kickboxing, mixed martial arts, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I trained and I fought for, I started training when I was 4 and I stopped when I was 25, and I competed and I fought from like 17 to 25.
And now you're just a block of wood.
Now I just lift weights. Yeah, now I just lift weights, man.
That Jay Cutler block of wood physique.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm going for.
Just nothing, but when he walks, nothing on his upper body actually moves.
I want to be as wide as I am tall. That's the goal.
Yeah. So no reciprocal push-pull movement. It's just all bilateral. Everything has to be. Yeah. Okay.
He leaves that to me and then makes fun of me. That's the way our training talks typically happen.
So even when you walk, are you swinging the same side arm as the leg?
I do walk like a giraffe. I walk ipsilaterally. Yeah, it's very, very, very efficient for me.
It's like a full body rotation.
Yes.
Like just a door constantly opening and closing.
Exactly. Right arm, left arm, left arm. Boom, boom. There we go. That's how it goes every time.
Can you honestly do the dunk, the jump though?
I can honestly do the
jump. That would probably that would really make me happy.
Look, I gotta find a basketball court around me though.
Matt, going into it, just before you do you think that you can touch the rim? Like what are your like,
I think single-handed with like a real reach, I could probably like fingertip touch the rim, but I don't know.
Yeah, because your shoulder flexion is not good either. Like
it's not good.
Like your overhead is
it's terrible. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Because I think that might actually be the limiting factor. Is I don't think you can get your arms over your head enough to get vertical enough with it.
I don't know if I can. I think I could get like fingertips to the rim. On one hand, I don't think I could do both.
Zero chance on two hands.
There's zero chance on two hands.
There's no chance on two hands.
I imagine if you did two, you would grab it and then slip a little bit and like land on your back,
straight on his back.
Yeah,
he would be the guy that like held onto the rim just a hair too long to where his feet flew too far forward.
Yeah.
And just dropped.
Or I would just be the guy that bends the rim because I'm so big.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm heavy.
You actually have to be careful on the playground because if they don't have breakaway rims, you might actually damage something. You are a big fella.
I'm a big man.
So,
I mean, that would make for a good TikTok though. If you went up and you broke the rim,
awesome TikTok.
Yeah. Yukon Gold destroys rim.
I just don't. I'm gonna imagine like you're halfway up the net, like that. That's kind of what my prediction is gonna be.
I don't know. I think I could touch the rim.
Well, I mean, you're 6'3". That's not an accomplishment, but I still don't think you can do it.
We actually, at my old job, we actually had a Vertec. That one of the things that we would do is we would just test people's verticals all the time because my former general manager was a beach volleyball player. So he was big into jumping, and like I think at the time I hit 27 inches, but that was also like 30 pounds ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm not hopeful for you at all.
27 standing?
Yeah.
Like that's not bad, and that would get you there. But I don't think so now.
No, that's not awful. Yeah, dude, I've seen some pretty poor. I worked women's golf, and oh my god, some like just so like. I mean, not that it matters because like often if you're gonna correlate like the vertical jump to like how far they can drive the ball, usually it's like if they're just bigger, if it's fat or muscle, they're gonna drive it further. And their vertical jump's gonna be awful. But yeah, dude, some of them like it's like freaking 8 inches, 12 inches, you know. And then it's like you think all this research on like potentiation of like take someone, do a task, do this potentiation stuff, they should get better. Like some of these athletes like that are so poor athletes, period, at just having any level of output that they just get tired and their vertical jump is worse. It's like potentiation didn't work for you. You know, you don't deserve any of this stuff yet. But I will say though, some of the golfers, like they usually are very like, I don't know if you guys work with golfers, like any of the isolated like movement screens, they can usually pass them if they're a good golfer, like a younger golfer. Some of the older people that go golf, you see them swing and it's like they can't move their body at all. But some of the like college age, like they're amazing at certain movements. They're so in tune with their bodies, which you would not think as a golfer, but they are. It's like it was just amazing. Like the type of we did like an FMS screen because like they just wanted kind of like that TPI, pretty much FMS. But dude, they would just kill it. It was amazing. But then you require some level of output. They just don't have it. Some of the men's golfers did, but it's like so. Then their issue was not like length with the ball. It's just like they can't freaking keep the ball on the green, on the fairway. You know? Yeah.
It's an ability. There's a skill output continuum. I think that most golfers are probably going to hit, and the elite level people do both well, and that's obviously an extremely small percentage. When I golf, I'm slicing it all over the place. There's zero straight lines happening from
my golfing is going to Top Golf and just trying to hit the back net as many times as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of dangerous, but if you kept the left heel down, you'll be good.
Just don't pivot at all. Just roll with it.
I used to golf a lot. I got into it because I just hit balls, you know. But growing up in Wisconsin, it's like you take 10 balls out to the field and with the driver and just hit them as far as you can. It's like I know where that went, and then you get out there and you come back with one ball. You know,
I have no idea where that went. That is gone forever.
So it's like, all right, we're gonna stop doing that because we're running out of golf balls. You know, stealing golf balls from the driving range, so we can't do that anymore. Yeah.
So what's in the future plans? Like what's post Dunk Nomad, or is Dunk Nomad just going to be the thing moving forward? Are you
ball is life, so
ball is forever, life, man? Because I think well, that's what I'm going to say at least. I think the traction that I can get, or the sales, whatever metric that I judge by, is going to be my own individual results, you know? Or I guess the results I can get for other people. But what's next? That's what I'm still doing. I'm 30. Maybe when I'm 40, I think differently. But I'll still want to dunk basketballs. I still can get bigger. You know, my legs are big enough. I don't care about that. My upper body, my biceps need to get bigger. Triceps, shoulders. My back is massive. My chest is massive. You know, it's all about that, and it's about dunking. And then it's about actually, it's about becoming the one dude in the entire world that has so much knowledge on the patellar tendon that I stand out against everyone else.
Just the patellar tendon expert.
Yes.
He is the guy.
I like
it.
I like it.
All things patellar tendon, go to Jake.
Yep. That's what it is. That's literally like, that's the one thing for me. Like, if I read stuff on hypertrophy, I get bored so fast. If I read vertical jump, I get bored. But like patellar tendon research, I never get bored. I could read that forever. I don't know why that is. Maybe I have such an attachment because I had it for like 3 years, and then I also have been dealing with it off and on my other knee. And when you like dunking or when you like jumping, like that is, and you're like a dopamine dominant person, like that's the only activity that you want to do, and you can't do it. You literally can't. That's the only activity that also hurts. Sometimes it hurts like sitting in a car or maybe squatting and stuff like that. But it's like you are just held back from your activity because the pain is there. And then you go to the doctor and it's like rest, ice, compress, elevate. We'll see how you feel. And I think for most kids who have like an acute case of it, that will work. Like just resting it, just taking the stimulus away if they just have a very short-term thing. Especially if they're a younger kid, they adapt, they can adapt so fast. But if you take that advice and it doesn't work after like 1 week or 2 weeks, and you just keep doing it over and over and over, you're never going to get better. So you need to get in some form of loading program. But it still seems like the advice out there sucks. It's like doing body weight eccentric training, just doing this very low stimulus stuff. Like just thinking of like the stiffness of your muscle compared to the stiffness of your tendon, or even your patellar tendon, because it's like down between two bones. It's like you doing body weight eccentrics, you are not stimulating that thing enough. So yeah, it's getting that advice out there. And also, I mean, you got people in the knee pain world that's just like these arbitrary standards that people need to hit, which are completely made up. So it's hopefully people can, and this is the issue. You got these kids who like dunking, or these young kids, and they want like, tell me exactly what to do. And it's like, no, the whole idea is I cannot tell you exactly what to do because everyone responds differently. So it's me hoping that kids can understand that you need to understand yourself better and not just get this workout sheet of what to do.
So what you're telling me is that I can't just get a blanket answer that's going to work for everybody every single time. So I have to actually think about things instead of just applying a check, like a yes or no checklist. Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, man, I'm not doing that.
That sounds like a lot of work, and I don't want to do any of that stuff.
I need you to think for me.
Dude,
Yeah.
that is the problem, actually. Like, I need to come up with something like that. And I haven't figured it out yet. I need to come up with something of like, your quad should be like this, and your calf should be like this, and you should be able to hold this exercise for this long, and you should be able to do this with this amount of pain, and all these benchmarks that people can go off of. But I just don't have it in me to make that up, because I know that it's just anything to back that. There's nothing that could back that.
Yeah, things like morphology and just like body, like height and weight and all of these other factors, training age and injury history. No, it's just this or this. That's how it actually is.
Yep. If you can't do 20 bodyweight sissy squats, then you do not deserve to jump.
Yeah. Maybe it's, well, I think that's actually how you frame it though, right? Where it's not so much like requirements. It's like, if you can't do this, you don't deserve it. If you can't do this, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And kind of go down that list. And maybe that's the difference between you and like some of the physical therapists, like the pain science people, where they're giving kind of like the minimum arbitrary standards. Like you said, like, a 20-second eccentric on like a split squat or something. Whereas you can be like, hey, like if you can't zercher squat 405, like you don't deserve to go out there and try to dunk. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And if it hurts your elbows, don't be soft.
Be soft.
I would say, okay, the problem with the patellar tendon thing, and that, like, why it's different than the other things, dude, even upper body tendons, people try to ask me like, what do I do for my elbow tendinopathy or whatever? And I was listening to Ebony Rio on podcast. She was saying it's like a dog's breakfast. You ever heard that term? Dog's breakfast?
No.
Like a mixed bag. Like, it makes no sense, like you don't know what's going on. She was saying that with like the elbow tendinopathies, because people can get the elbow tendinopathies from like typing on a typewriter or something.
Oh yeah, or
and
just
like
leaning on their elbow, like on
So like the treatment there is like, I kind of go hands off there, or even like shoulder stuff. Like, what can I do from a rotator cuff? It's like, anything that loads the area for 30-45 seconds if you're talking isometric. Simple enough, but I can't get any more in depth than that. I'm sorry, I just don't care. But the patellar tendon thing is so, I guess, so difficult, because it's like, you never want to use it. You never want to do anything, but you can always go and dunk and play basketball. All you got to do is warm up. If you do a good enough warm up, 5, 10, 15 minutes, these athletes who have extreme pain, they can get to the point where they don't have any pain, and they can still do the activity, which is then going to kill you the next day, and your knees is going to blow up again. And then it's like, you go through the process again and again and again. And those basketball players, often, they hate lifting. They hate anything like that. So it's like, the thing they need to do is get in the weight room, improve the tissue tolerance of that area, like tell the brain that it's okay to use that in that manner, and then they can start to heal over time. But they just don't want to do it. And then if you have doctors telling you that you should rest in ice, it's just like, wow, this you're screwed. You're screwed.
Just a whole lot of confirmation bias going on. Like, I told you lifting wasn't the way to go about this. I need to just sit on my couch until it's time to go play ball, and then just go in cold, see what happens.
But dude, I think the reason, like, maybe I come across that way, like online, when people ask me questions and I'm kind of like dismissive or short with them, is a lot of the ways that I behave now are because I see my past self in the people that are responding, and it's like, dude, quit acting that way, like that's going to get you nowhere in life. And I talk so poorly about the resting and icing the tendon issues, because it's like, when I had the patellar tendon issue on my right side, I looked up everything, and this was like the time Kelly Stretch was coming out.
Oh yeah,
Kelly Stretch. Yeah, he was like, do the couch stretch to lengthen the quads, probably stretch the calves too for like knee health. And then he was also, that was before he was against icing, because he used to be for icing, and he was like, freeze a cup of ice and then rub the area with the ice cup, like 10 minutes, do it 3-4 times a day. So I did this for months. I couch stretched my quad for like 10 minutes a day. I did the calf stretching. I did the glute activation. I iced my knee. I pretty much did everything to avoid loading my knee, loading my quad and my patellar tendon. And it did not work at all. Yeah. And then I ended up getting surgery, because my own rehab and even the PT rehab did not work. So I'm like, surgery has to help. And surgery didn't do anything, it just made me. And the problem with that surgery is, you got to keep the legs straight for like a month after that, like patellar tendon surgery. So it's like, you can't do anything for a month really. And man, I was even like going to basketball games after that and like trying to get down the bleachers and like I couldn't bend my knee. I was like, I'm surprised I didn't fall over, like break my freaking skull open or something. But yeah, then it became the knowledge of loading the area, like actually doing knee flexion, knee extension exercises, and that's what paid off. But yeah, these kids, dude, there's the emotional side too of like your knee hurts, your patellar tendon hurts, and it hurts when you load it, so you just want to rest. You don't want to do anything. And you could even watch like a person's gait pattern and they're like walking on like a stiff leg, you know, like the knee just gets like screw home. It just gets locked. And it's like, you're basically limping. You're like got a peg leg, you know, and it's like everything about the whole thing is wrong. But what you said about the you have to do this before you can deserve this. Like that's one of the problems with like when you have the patellar tendon pain and you have you can dunk basketball still, like you can often go out and dunk fine. But if I ask you to jog or do any type of like lower intensity thing, you're going to look messed up. You know, you're going to look like Joe Cook is like, if you do the isometrics and the isotonics and everything, but you still hop like a duck, that's what you're saying, like the function. If you're still hopping like a duck, you are not any better. Like you have to regain the function of the tendon and do it in a progressive manner. If you just go, I did all this lifting for a prolonged period of time, and now I'm going to go dunk again. It's like, that is such a huge jump. And it's just going to blow up again. It's just going to get extreme. You're getting extreme pain. The function of your leg, of your tendon, everything is all messed up. The kinetic chain's all messed up. So it's like, get the tissue tolerance, progressively get back into dunking, and then you're going to be good off. But I think for me personally, or even recently, like looking at the biomechanics approach, like the PRI, like we talk so poorly about the stuff. It's like these type of athletes who get the jumper's knee are usually going to be very good athletes. You know, like for myself, like I still deal with the left side. It's like if I'm Zercher squatting 450 and then I'm telling you that I have like really bad patellar tendon pain, you'd be like, seriously? Like you just did that? And now you think that your solution is to lay on the floor and do a left hamstring bridge and breathe in your whatever side you're supposed to breathe on. You know, like that is not going to work for me. You know, that might work. That might work for a 90-year-old lady who has like whatever patellofemoral pain or something. But no, that is not working for me. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
I think the real answer here is that you're just zerchering too much weight, and we need to drop it down to about like 20 to 40 kilos, and then we'll be good.
Well, dude, it's you know what? It's starting to hurt my elbows, so I might do that.
What did you say to that one guy? Have you tried not being soft?
That's why they make those bar pads. Just use the bar pad.
You know what? One guy asked me, I haven't got back to him yet. He asked me on my most recent one. He was like, aren't you concerned about the nerves that run through the whatever term, radial, brachial, something?
Yeah.
I never got back to him because I was trying to think of something really creative to say. I was just like, you know, like not because I felt like I could say something to a point where I'm like, dude, I don't care about nerves. You know, I don't want to come across that way. But also in a way of like, come on, man.
That's not my primary.
No. What I think I'll say is you don't have to worry about it because you will never Zercher squat 455.
That's just go with the Ronnie Coleman respect. It's like everybody wants to Zercher 455, but they don't want to upset their radial nerves.
They don't want to feel that painful ass nerve pain. Yeah.
But, I mean, I think this is what we talk about too, like with the low level stuff. Like this is kind of the realization that we came to working with like so many power lifters, is it's very much the same thing. Is the stimulus threshold is so different with any of this thing that there's no carryover. There's no way it's going to carry over. You're not even operating with gravity when you're on the ground doing something. So to think that you can then carry over those positions or those orientations with either like high load lifting or something that's very power and velocity based, like jumping, or sprinting for that matter, is super misguided when you just look at like just stimulus accommodation, right? Like you have to be able to somehow replicate that level of intensity within your training if you want any carryover at all. And I think that's why I appreciate so much of your stuff, is just because it's like, you just have, like, a lot of people just flat out don't train hard enough. And when something hurts even a little bit, instead of leaning into it and identifying like, hey, this might hurt because it's just not strong enough, they completely avoid it with everything else. Or they try to augment every exercise around it, right? And it's just like, no, you probably just like any other system, you probably just need to stress that system a little bit more and immerse it within, stimulus. And then it's going to from a neural standpoint, because that's what pain is, right? Your body's going to understand that it's like, oh, it's okay to be in that position and under that level of stress. And it's probably good, moving forward. Because we see this all the time with, like, I'm older than you guys, but for 15 years, the entire industry was, like, you can't put your knees over your toes. Everything has to be sitting back. Everything was avoiding any kind of stress on the front side of the knee. Like, the whole industry was terrified of it. And every trainer promoted that. And now the tide is shifting a little bit, but you still have doctors and people in the medical field. They're like, no, you can't do that. Like, your knees will literally explode and you're going to be in pain forever.
You will probably be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
And here's the thing, like, I even think doctors know better, but I also think doctors know who they're working with oftentimes. And they're just like, oh, well, you're not actually going to train this the right way. And I might as well tell you to be super conservative about it, so you're not in acute pain all the time.
Yeah, dude, that's like the landing mechanics thing, where it's like, the
snap downs. Can you talk about snap downs? Can we talk about
well, actually, here. So I told you, like, the patellar tendon issues, like, this is why I've gained a lot of benefit, because I've had such negative experiences through the patellar tendon issues, and now I've developed quite a bit of knowledge that I can help other people or even deal with my own issues. But so this was at the university was. Oh, there we go.
He's probably being robbed again.
Does he like landing mechanics? Is he mad at me or what?
He does like landing mechanics,
but he's got 4 legs to balance it out.
Yeah, like he can disperse into all, like, 4 different patellar tendons, so it doesn't matter. Like, the actual, like, landing surface area and the dispersion is way different than a human being, so he doesn't have to worry about pain.
Or just, like, fall on your back,
Yeah, I mean, he's a French bulldog. He also does not jump very high.
Oh yeah, but if you, like, drop him, roll through the legs, land on the back. That's good landing technique. Like, you see it in like NBA. It's like landing properly, and it's like some of these dudes land on one leg and then they just fall on their back, and it's like, that's a very good landing technique.
Yeah, you just flip on over.
But you're not testing that in the weight room, So anyways, the landing mechanics part came in actually because at the university, it was like one of the reasons I was pulled in was the women's team had, like, multiple ACL tears the year prior. I think they had 3 ACL tears the year prior, women's basketball. And the head coach wanted a different strength coach. The other guy that was before him you can't blame him, but, like, he was a good dude. They just happen sometimes, So he brought me in, partly because I'm, like, a younger dude. I can, like, be hype for him, The other guy was just, like, more chill environment, like girls doing a set of squats and, like, just chilling on the bench for, like, 5 minutes. And first thing I ask his coach is like, what do you want on it? He's like, I want them sweating. I want them working hard. And it's like, in my brain, like, well, that's kind of stupid, but okay, we can do that. So it's like, if you do a set of squats, you're going to be doing, like, French contrast between or something between. You're not going to be chilling on the bench, because coach doesn't like that. And coach is the one writing my paycheck. But anyways, so they brought this company, and it's called SES. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. Stability Enhancement Systems. It's like an ACL prevention thing. It's like this girl who's a PT, and she has her assistant. So she went to multiple universities and she comes in for one day. Basically runs the FMS screen, like a few of the exercises, like bird dog, overhead squat, inline lunge.
The important ones.
And the standardization is not very good, but even if the standardization was good, I don't think there's much use. Mm-mm. And then it's like some hopping tasks. Like, one of the hops is, like, in the lane, hop on the left leg, and then hop on the right leg, hop on the left, hop on the right, and then take a video of it and then see where their knees are, And even in an exercise like that, of course their knees are going to be in, because they're hopping laterally. And then one of the other ones was a tuck jump, like a 5 tuck jump, I think, and then film that too. And the nature of a tuck jump is elastic. You're trying to get off as fast as you can. You're not really using the hips either, or, like, bending at the waist. You're staying upright. So then film that, find the screenshot of the position where they're the most valgus, and then use that one. And then, so the first year they did it, they sent the PDF. I didn't even see the PDF of, like, the results. And then they were given, like, different exercises to do every day, 5 days a week or something like that. Like stuff with Swiss balls, stuff with Bosu balls, foam rolling, banded glute stuff. And it was individualized, or at least it was individualized. And then They ran through that. Okay. But they just go through the motions most of the time. And I'm not going to be the one to enforce the quality of the repetition because I don't believe in it in the first place. But then the second year they did it again, and they sent the PDF to me, and they also sent it to our head trainer. And our head trainer, which is one of the reasons I left. I did not get along with the guy, athletic trainer. He gets the PDF and he messaged me like, dude, because the PDF said all the girls are prone for ACL tears. Every single girl on the team is high risk for ACL tears. And he messaged me like, are you not doing any neuromuscular reeducation with training? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. But I was thinking we were on the same page. And I was like, dude, but I mean, I think we both understand how limiting my role is and how the tests that they ran on us, how limiting those are to predict an ACL tear. And then the email back was, I completely disagree. I'm going to print off all these studies for you to look at, and then brought them in my office, all these like systematic reviews, which were really, that doesn't tell me much at all. Because, well, first of all, if you're going to try to prove it with studies, please give me a study of thousands of Division I women's basketball athletes, and this
not geriatrics.
Yeah, dude, like the group really matters. So those were kind of out the window. And then I just realized I'm not going to find common ground with this guy. And if anything, he's like kind of my boss. So I need to make sure that I'm doing something, like I'm going to do, I lasted a little bit doing like jump up, someone push you, land in a thing, knees out. I did that for like a week, and then I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this. But for me, it was like a time for about a week. I went home and I was just really like stressed out about this, because I've been doing this for like 7 years, and you're telling me that I'm incompetent at what I do. It's basically what you're telling me. And I'm like, is there really this whole area that I'm missing on ACL prevention that I just have no knowledge about? So luckily I was on Instagram, messaged Darian Barr, messaged like Justin Moore, messaged a bunch of guys about what had happened. And I'm like, am I really wrong for thinking that I'm not going to change these things? And yeah, that was when like I got kind of a lot closer with the Darian, and he just kept sending me videos of like inside edge, people landing with their knees in, people like jumping with their knees touching, all of this crazy stuff and never getting hurt. And then that was when, and then we had a women's soccer coach too, who is knowledgeable about physiology, was also like, dude, this is garbage. Like, do they seriously think they're preventing injuries with this garbage? No, you're not. So it was like that whole experience was very negative for me for a while, but it forced me to completely change my paradigm and understand that anytime anyone says the phrase ACL prevention, you're an idiot. You have no clue what you're talking about. Because you'd never know the cause. You would never know the cause of the ACL tear.
Injury prevention in general is a garbage concept.
So, but the thing was like the snap downs was like you test the landing or even the jumping technique, and it's like, yes, you have the triple flexion, triple extension, but you also go down, you externally rotate, you have a moment of internal rotation, you go back to external, you come up, and it's like, let's just take pronation and internal rotation out of the jump and let's train that. And it's like, yeah, we can't do that anymore. It's like, dude, that is idiotic. And if you let the athlete jump without coaching them that way, they would never do that. They would never be successful. And if you want them to do that in sports, our team's going to suck, but they're not going to do that. It's like the Franz Bosch thing where it's like the body is smarter, that when it gets input from a coach, it just is like, I'm going to get rid of this as soon as possible and do what matters, which is what is in front of me. So yeah, the whole snap down thing is like, I would say this though, is that girls with like patellofemoral pain, or athletes, because guys can get it too, if they just land off like a 12-inch box and you see this crazy valgus collapse, that's a lot more like patellofemoral stress. That's like weird on the inside. So they're probably more likely to get patellofemoral pain. Is it more likely to cause an ACL? Maybe it is, because they would, if they present with that crazy valgus. But it's more likely to cause a patellofemoral pain. But I wouldn't say that you should go and do the landing technique. All that's telling me that you jumped off a 12-inch box and your knees touched is that you're just an awful athlete. You have terrible body control.
You're just not very strong.
Go and do other things.
Yeah, you're just not very strong.
Get in the weight room or expose yourself to other type of movements, other type of sports. But if you're jumping off this box and your knees are just touching, like, I don't know. I don't think doing 5 reps of that is going to transfer when you get on the sport and do 5,000 reps of a jump in your natural way, So yeah, I'm really just surprised that is still around. But the benefit is, when I see those posts, it gives me content to post on my vertical jump page. That's always the benefit.
I mean, I love it when you go on like a story roll and it's just like all these athletes landing awkwardly on one leg, or like, just with like knee, like internal rotation and falling and then getting up and running down the court and being totally fine. It's like, yeah, this is trainable, totally trainable. It's snap downs. Like this is definitely
Dude, it's like the survivorship bias thing,
Oh yeah,
So like,
100%.
but maybe it's like the reverse, because it's like we only look at the dude who tore his ACL and then we say he was in a analogous position, but it's like there were 1 million situations of the same time they were in a analogous position and they didn't blow their ACL.
Yeah.
So please use a little bit of critical thinking to realize you are an idiot for believing this.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing that happens with just weightlifting and training in general. Is like there are thousands and thousands of squats performed every single day, and the one time you see like an elite level power lifter break his knee under a 1 rep max squat, people just jump into the comments like, "See, I told you lifting was dangerous."
Or even a novice person who has a lower, like hopefully a non-serious like lower back injury because they fall into too much extension, like, oh, extension's terrible, and it's like that one time, like, sure, like, but again, like,
how many other times did they do it?
Yeah.
Was that their 10th rep of 4 sets of 10? Like, what was happening?
On like their 16th week of like a peaking phase, and like, and maybe they didn't sleep well the night before. Maybe they were constipated and couldn't brace properly. Like, who fucking knows? Like, it's so multifactorial. Like, that's like the like, I love the Kevin Durant Achilles tear, like back, a couple of years ago, where it was just like, okay, that's literally a jab step and a move that guy has made 1,000,000 times throughout his career and never had an injury. You think that's the reason?
Yes.
That he hurt himself? Like,
yes.
Like, what are we talking about here? It's like, there's nothing worse to me than strength and conditioning coaches like cherry picking injuries to prove a point. Like, that is the epitome of like scumbaggery in this field for me. It kills me.
The best is when they do like the freeze frames of somebody who hasn't even injured themselves, of something that happened like weeks and weeks.
Oh, bro, you're talking about Goda now. You're talking about still shotting the Wodas.
Yeah, just still shotting like one half of it. Like, look, it proves my point. I was right. My favorite is like, so there's a page called Go to Weightlifting right now that's just trolling them, and they're like posting pictures of like Conor McGregor, and they're like, look, he's a WODA, and like Muhammad Ali being a WODA, and it's awesome. Like, that is my favorite. Like, look at all these terrible athletes.
Here's LeBron James, the worst athlete in the NBA
of all time.
Well, dude, going back to the trainer I told you I didn't get along with, he actually brought the GOATA guys in and they talked to our staff once.
No.
Yeah.
God.
One of the GOATA guys. I don't know who it was. But
I've blocked all of them.
Did you just sit there with your hand raised the entire time?
No, I wasn't. I actually missed the talk. I somehow missed the talk. I got the wrong timing of when it was happening.
They told you the wrong time.
They sent you the wrong
purpose.
information, Jake. Like, I don't
want to tell you this, man.
You were doing a dunk session somewhere, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, Jake missed it."
Oh, we meant 11:30, not 1:30. Sorry, typo.
Dude, because one time I made a video, like an old Instagram post, and I was doing hurdle hops, and like the hurdle hop elastic, my feet like go inwards. I pronate to get up, my knees come in a little bit, and I was talking about how that's a natural thing, and then our trainer actually commented on it and said, "I'm shredding my Achilles, I'm shredding my ACL," and then he tagged GOATA in it, and I was like, well, first of all, you don't even follow me, bro. And also, why don't you just tell me to come down to your office and have a conversation with you?
How about we just not air this out on social media? Because now I have to call you an idiot in public, and that's not going to look good for either one of us.
Now I have to come down to your office and slap you in the face in front of everybody. It's going to look really bad.
But okay, ultimately, I think like if me and him were to get anywhere, I think we would have to. Like I would have to see some skin in the game from him and say, okay, what is the team you work with? It's football. How many ACL injuries did you have last year? Because it should be 0 if you're saying like you have the answers for everything. It should be absolutely 0. And I don't think that would happen. I think you would have a scapegoat. Well, we didn't manage their nutrition and their sleep, but I did all the proper things in the training room. Like, dude, come on. But you know what? You always see, because I got some friends who work NBA. And part of it is like they can never post. They barely ever can post social media.
They can't,
but they'll never be critical of any other NBA injury or something. It's always the people with no skin in the game that have no athletes that are training in a professional setting like NBA that will call out these type of athletes. Or what they'll do is like they've worked with that pro athlete for like 2 months and then they get in season, they get injured, and then the guy who trained them for the 2 months is like, man, it's such a shame that I couldn't have been there training him and basically saying that the strength staff on that team is an idiot or idiots, and they were the one that caused injury. It's like, how about we just admit that it's kind of unnatural for a human being to play whatever it is, 82 games of basketball and travel across the country doing it, like injuries are probably just going to happen.
Maybe we shouldn't be crossing 5 time zones to play 4 games in, 5 days on a road trip. And probably
my favorite is when something exactly like you just said happens, when you talk about why they have ACL injuries, even though they're doing all the right stuff. And they're like, well, we didn't control their sleep and nutrition. They're like, oh, so you're admitting that injuries are multifactorial and not just from what you're doing. Like, no. It's mostly wait. I don't understand this. And you can just see their brain just like shut down. It's awesome.
It only works for me, not against me.
Exactly.
I don't know how this conversation
as soon as there's like any other scapegoat, you're like, so you agree that this is just not how it's going to be then? No. It's my favorite.
It's like the what you see is all there is. Yeah, like if you're looking for it, or like it's the only thing you know, then it is the only thing that you know.
Well, you know what they say about having it when you have a hammer, right? When all you have is a hammer, everything you see is a nail.
Yeah.
But dude, the you know what's like the landing mechanics thing, or like the whole valgus thing? It's so interesting to me because it's like all I had to do was go to like a women's soccer game and spend 5 minutes watching to realize that those ideas are so stupid. Just watch them play. They're hitting these positions over and over. Yeah. And you're saying that they're dangerous and more likely to get hurt. And ultimately, injuries are extremely rare for the amount of time they're playing sports.
That's the thing, is injury that people don't understand. It's like when you look at movement actions and you look at the sheer amount of people that play sports across the board, and then you look at injuries, you're talking about a percentage of occurrence. Like it's not even close to being prevalent in any way. And again, we're going to hyper focus on the negative because that's what human beings do, and that's how we market ourselves. But it's absolutely ridiculous. And like that's the same thing with, I've told people before, like, hey, like what's this athlete's like individual like training limiter? I'm like, have you ever watched them actually play their sport? Because you'll find out really quickly like what their training limiter is. Like it's like watch them play their sport. Like it probably has nothing to do with a weight room, from that perspective. Like look at the context of what they're actually training for, and you'll probably have a much better idea of like what's happening, what's going on. Well,
you know what, the reason why Derrick Rose got hurt was because he only planted off the same plant over and over. And Jordan was balanced, he was fine. And Kobe was balanced, he was fine. But you know what? If we use that same logic, Kobe also tore his Achilles. So, maybe the plants aren't the right thing. Maybe he tore his Achilles. Derrick Rose tore his ACL. It's like, because like we use that logic, if we use that logic, Joel Embiid, I've seen before that he gets a massage and he's eating a cheeseburger before a game, and he's in the race for the MVP. So like, if you're playing basketball and you're out there, please eat a cheeseburger, get a massage before the game, and you will be so much better.
Well, it's like when everybody, like every 6 months or so, the LeBron squat airs around social media, right? We all know which one I'm talking about now. And somebody
that I'm sure he's just doing at this point for a reaction from.
Well, it's the same picture from like 8 years ago where he's squatting like 185. His feet are literally in a sumo stance. He's got a huge amount of just like lumbar extension, thoracic extension, and he's not even coming close to hitting parallel. And somebody asked me once, like, they're like, oh, like, what do you think this means, like, as far as injury risk? And I was like, all this tells me is because he's the best basketball player on the planet, that squatting does not matter for shit when it comes to actually playing basketball. Like, that's all this means to me. Like, if I'm looking at correlation with squat and I'm watching him play basketball, this guy jumps 50 inches in the fucking air as a 250-pound human being. I don't care what he squats. And the way he squats probably doesn't matter.
Dude, but you know what is part of the problem is when I was at college, if you would have said that, and I'm trying to get men's basketball players to like want to lift, I would never want to hear that. I'd be like, But the thing is, I think if you could start the conversation, and I never got to that point, but I think if you could start that conversation of like, this really of what it is. What is the point of doing all this stuff, you know? And then you don't have to lie to them and like try to use justifications of like, look at Giannis's transformation from looking small to looking super big, and now he's great in the NBA. But I was trying to find this, but I couldn't. I was like, I want to find guys who look like a twig coming into the NBA, and they got freaking jacked, and they just sucked.
Dude, you could have used my college pictures for that, where I just got more unathletic as I put on pounds. That was it's the way to do it.
Dude, because the same thing with the NCAA tournament, Baylor and Gonzaga.
Yeah,
they're like, Baylor trained with looks like they trained with the men's football team, and then you have every college strength coach being like sharing this tweets to be like that, the importance of the weight room, the importance of physical development. And I guess part of it too is probably the pressure from coaches, because I know head coaches watch the tournament, and those head coaches are going to go to their strength coach and say, Baylor, we're freaking animals, and I need you to train like Baylor trained. So I need you to reach out to Baylor and do the exact program they did. And it's like this level of like incompetence or just flawed thinking. Why does it still exist in sports? Like, it makes no sense. Like, but I think the problem is administrators are hiring these people, and administrators don't have any clue what goes into a competent head coach or a competent sport coach. So you get people that come in that just have a decorated resume.
Oh yeah. They got all that.
I mean, that's the biggest thing is like, you look at when I was a hiring manager at my old job, like you would look at the people who had the most decorated resumes with the most education and the most certifications and everything done. They have the worst like application of like no experience, and they can't apply any of the concept that they've learned to any of the people that they're working with. Like, I had some people from I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name, but they work with Google, and they do some like continuing education work with my former company. It was a big athlete development group, and they would just come in and just train all these like Gen Pop people, like elite athletes. And like, these people are dying. It's like, this guy's 70 pounds overweight. He doesn't need to be doing any of this stuff. Like, what are you
treadmill
doing
repeats probably aren't the best thing for
not the greatest idea. Like, this dude's heart rate is 140 beats per minute walking up the stairs. Like, not a good idea. But like, that's what it looks like though, because like any kind of administrator, any kind of person like that is looking for the most dedicated, like decorated resume possible, but they don't look at the actual experience of what the person can bring to the table.
Dude, my friend Scott, he was at William and Mary. I don't know if you guys are familiar with William and Mary. Maybe I shouldn't say that on here. Anyway, those coaches.
They know.
But dude, he was telling me some horror stories working for the coach. It's like, because the level, I won't use that exact example, but like the level that I would say most coaches, and my experience is kind of limited. I worked college for like 7 years maybe, but it's like their idea, like any men's basketball head coach would see Baylor win and say, strength coach, you better be taking notes, you know? Like that's their level of understanding of, or I would say I bet you even with drills, I bet you even with their style of play is just like, what did the successful people do? And let's copy that. And it's like, that's why I read Daniel Kahneman's book a while ago, Thinking Fast and Slow. That's such a good book, but he was talking about luck. And like, first of all, we don't deal well with like non-events, like things that didn't happen. But if you look at Google, like for being so successful, you look at Apple for being so successful, it's like, how much of this was attributed to luck? And no one can ever answer that. And it's like, how much of Baylor's success was attributed to luck? Yeah. We don't know. But when you put that in, when you factor that in, then you have to use less of what they did as the attributing their success just because of what they did. It could have been some lucky event that happened. You know, it could have been that I don't know. Could have been that one dude on Gonzaga just didn't shoot well, you know? Oh, yeah. Something happened at their hotel. They didn't get good sleep, something like that. You never know.
Well, in basketball, you're talking about so many players and then a very dynamic reactive game where that's why the pros play series, because everybody knows that in professional basketball that even the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league in any single game, right? You see it all the time. College basketball is very much the same thing. You see upsets all the time, right? You see 1 seeds and 2 seeds. Like you saw, again, multiple upsets within the tournament. Like a 13 seed made the Elite Eight. Do we really think they were a top 10 team in
Well, you know
the
why?
country?
Because they're freaking animals in the weight room.
They're animals in the weight room. There wasn't a single guy on that team
why.
that weighed more than 215 pounds. Like if you watch the video, right? You know, just like, it's like, yeah, like Baylor won that game, and And even going into the game, like everybody, all the people who know basketball were like, this is the worst possible matchup for Gonzaga because they don't have the bigs to handle Baylor. Like they didn't have a deep enough bench, and Baylor just has a huge bench, and like they're pulling 6'10" like animals straight off the bench, that guys that don't even start. And it's just like they just have a rotation of these guys that Gonzaga's not built to handle.
What if Gonzaga had like a Steph Curry and you just shoot threes? You need the big guys. The big guys are going to score twos. You're going to score threes. You know, because at the end of the day, just you got to score the ball. You got to score the ball more than the other team, and that's what matters. Yeah. Dude, I wonder with the Baylor example, it's like, okay, Baylor were animals in the weight room, or they're physical. And I guess the way we're talking, I bet you strength coaches would be like, "Oh, are you talking against physical development?" No, I'm not. I'm just for the wrong reason.
We're talking about critical thinking.
Yeah, which is kind of rare in the strength field, but
super rare. A hard concept.
But dude, how many teams within the 64 teams, right? How many teams within that 64 were just as physically good as Baylor, and they didn't even make it out of the freaking first round? You know, so it's like, how much does it matter? It matters that you can score the ball, and if size helps you score the ball, then cool.
But, and you have a good game. You have a good game. The other guys have a bad game.
I posted that example of Kevin Durant on my story of like, you guys see that? Oh my god, that was amazing. Of his when he went to the NBA Combine and he goes down to bench 185 and he can't do a single rep. And Kevin Durant, I never even seen this till recently. He was giving his take on the whole thing. He's like, these guys were laughing at me. You know, he's like, just give me a ball. Just give me a ball in my hands. I want to play basketball. You know. Yeah. And these strength coaches were all like giggling, whatever. And he's like, he was just so pissed about it. And it's like, ultimately, it doesn't matter for him. You know, it might matter for like a Ben Wallace or some guy that needs to play a more forceful style of play. But for Kevin Durant, it doesn't matter. He's one of the best players in the world, and he can't bench press 185 for one. So like, dude, it's critical thinking, but I guess it's kind of hard to do. We'd rather not do it.
I mean, the problem is it is hard. It literally physiologically uses more energy, you know, and it's the problem with it in fitness is you can't sell critical thinking.
Yeah.
Like you have to take a stance on something if you want to be able to market your ideas or your products or your services or whatever. Like you said, this is why you're having like, it's hard to create like the guide that you want to create, because it's like everybody is different. Everybody is coming to you as N of ones regarding training age and regarding tissue tolerance and regarding injury history and, you know, morphology and whatever, where it's like, man, I don't know what to tell you. You're literally going to have to learn concepts and then start figuring shit out and figure out what works for you, figure out what that limiter is. Cause it might be strength training. It might just be trying to dunk more. I have no idea. It might be ISOs. Maybe, who knows? It might be super boring, extensive pogos.
But it might be that you can't put a red check and a green, a red X and a green check.
You know, I love green checks and red X's. That's my favorite Instagram thing.
It's not going to sell.
Do this, not that. Love it.
Oh, do you use the checks? I haven't
noticed. I hate it. I hate the checks more than anything.
The checks are awful.
Yeah.
The checks and the X's. Yeah, I might have to start using that.
Just
I mean, if you start, this is our business model for you though, is you start using the checks and the X's for this, and on every X you can just like, if you do this, you're probably soft.
Yeah, or you don't deserve it.
You don't do this,
you don't deserve it.
I had a few posts back in the day. I should have been using these checks. It was like keys to shoulder development, and it was a list, but it was just good lighting.
Yeah.
And then I had one for calf development, keys for good calf development, and one was genetics, and the other was tall white socks.
Yep, higher socks.
Yes, higher socks, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's insightful stuff. I mean, there's a lot of take homes from that people can immediately use.
I see no lies.
That's very true.
At all.
I think this brings us to our only scripted question, which should be a fun one with you. The only scripted question that we have is, what in the industry that you see really kind of like gets under your skin and really grinds your gears? And if you want to name names and call people out directly, feel free.
We'll tag them. Ooh. It's totally fine.
I hate scripted questions, man. I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes and think about this. Isn't this what happened?
It's our only one.
Didn't we do a podcast last time and I did this? Didn't we do a podcast last time I did this exact thing? Maybe it was somebody else.
That must have been somebody else's.
That was definitely not us.
I
They
just
must have
sat there.
stolen our scripted
The show
question.
actually had 60 minutes of silence to allow me to think. Yeah. I mean, halfway through, you heard the toilet flush because I had to take a little break. Yeah. The coffee was hitting me. What I hate seeing.
Yeah, what pisses you off?
Well, it's the dude. I guess it's just everything we talked about. The lack of critical thinking of like your training, which is good. Yes, it's very good that you're training, but like your rationalization for the training is wrong. You know, like meaning wrong that I could objectively criticize you with in the most simplest way, and now your argument is wrong. Like, let's take for example, like a James Harden steps back and pushes in and drives in the lane, and that requires ankle stiffness. You know, that move requires ankle stiffness. So the person will put a post, look at James Harden do this, and now I'm in the weight room doing pogo hops for ankle stiffness. And it's like, you don't need pogo hops. Just do what James Harden did, and you develop ankle stiffness. Mm-hmm. You develop the thing by doing the activity. It's like you're so comfortable in the weight room that you don't want to leave the weight room, and you think everything for you can happen in the weight room to transfer to sport. How about you just stop doing that? You know, it would be so. That's one thing. I guess the other things are like the giving those recipes to people that have pain. You know, anyone who's in any form of pain is like, what is the solution for me? And it's like, well, I think the solution is for you to understand your body better, and I can't do that for you. You know, understand some concepts that I can teach you, but then go out and do it. And yeah, the problem, it's not even like a personal problem, because it's that these kids that they'll have knee pain and they're given this specific plan for what to do, and it messes them up more. And it's like, they reach out to me and say, yeah, I did this program, but my knees have never hurt more. And it's like, wow, that is really bad. You did a knee pain program and you hurt worse. Like, that's messed up. You know what? Maybe that's happened for me. I don't know. If it did happen for me, I would be like, well, that's useful criticism. I'm going to change my program and make it better. But it's like, I think people just sell their souls to marketing and are like, I don't care about delivering higher quality resources. I need to make more money. You know, it's like, dude, that's messed up. But it will come back around someday. These people that do that type of stuff, it's going to come back around, and people will start to realize that these things are lies, and maybe we'll get to but maybe history is circular, you know? Yeah. It comes about, and then people start thinking critically, and then they go back to stupid thinking, and then they think critically, you know? Maybe that's how it is.
If you've been in the industry long enough, you see all the trends. Like we were talking about with somebody on a prior call. It's like, we're about a year away from like foam rolling to really get big again. Yeah. Like, it's going to make a comeback. Like, SMR is going to make a comeback. Like I've
already seen people posting about foam rolling and people using foam rollers again.
Yeah. It's like our big joke is everything devolves back into FMS. Like, every system we've seen devolves back into like a Bretzel stretch and an ASLR. And we're just like, it just keeps coming back. All we did was now we're talking about exhaling at a certain point as we do it, but we're right back to FMS. It's amazing.
Oh, dude, that's one thing too. That's one thing too. Now I'm listing 3 is people that are rehashing what has been done a million times. Like, here's a video for how to foam roll your VMO. And it's like, are you serious? Why did you post this? Like, you're just taking up space. I've seen this before. And then they'll be like, well, I have a different community that needs to see this. It's like, no, just link out a freaking video that they can go see, you know? It's already been done. Stop doing it.
No, you don't. Foam rolling's been around since 2001. This is late.
I honestly need people to think that I invented that.
Yeah.
Like,
you're 20 years late to the party, buddy.
That's my business model.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll put a spin on it and we just get a glazed foam roller, and then that's how you foam roll, you know? Just make sure there's a fresh glaze on it, you know?
Yes. Extra sweaty. An extra sweaty foam roller. That might not be hygienic, but it'll work. It'll work.
Yeah, I mean,
it'll look good on Instagram.
It'll look good on Instagram.
The glaze never ends. So
the glaze never ends. I love it, man. Where can everybody find you if you want to be found?
Well, it depends on the person, you know. Well, actually, it doesn't depend on the person, because if you send me a dumb question, I'm going to reply, and I'm probably going to scremind it and then share it to the public.
And then you're going to post it to your story.
So just be warned. Be warned, everybody. That
I'll probably just make it anonymous. Like, I might go to the extent of taking your little circular picture if I really called you out, and putting a different one there so that people really don't
like
know who you are.
a clown emoji over that's what I do when people try to troll me in DMs is I put the
that's good
emoji over where their like picture would be, and I leave everything else so that people can see what it is.
So
what they actually say to me.
My Instagram's Jake Tuura. It's Tuura. Most people think it's with 2 R's, but it's with 2 U's. And website is jackedathlete.com, where I have all my stuff. And I got the YouTube Jake Tuura, where I've been recently been putting the patellar tendon videos. I was doing a lot per day, but then I kind of ran out of like, I don't know, other things happened. And but the thing is, if you don't have patellar tendinopathy, you don't have jumper's knee, you're gonna have zero interest in anything that I have to say right now. So don't follow me. That's what it is.
We got hypertrophy clusters. We got all kinds of programs.
We got the glaze. Yeah.
So there's some glaze there.
I'm always posting the dumb things on the cluster page or the vertical. Well, no, the cluster page gets all the dumb stuff, and the VJP page, because I'm the VJP admin, you know, that gets more of the serious, like just calling people out just to call them out, you know, because that's the personality of the VJP admin. He doesn't care. And then my personal is just sometimes I post animal videos doing weird things like eating carrots or something like that. So yeah.
That's like at the Dunking Nomad. Are we changing that?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I might get married soon, so
that's true. You're on week
stuck.
3.
Yeah,
you're on.
You won't be the Nomad anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and I might get even glazier like the Yukon Gold, and then I won't be dunking anymore.
You might not even be touching
the dunking
rim.
house husband. Yeah.
Yeah. My technique will go from like very smooth to just looking like the worst thing that anyone's ever seen.
We'll just call you the dunking house husband or the dunking trophy husband. That's what your new nickname will be.
I might try to take that one over. To be 100% honest, I might roll with it. I always love it. Like people will like message me and be like say something like I can do that, or that's not impressive. And I'm like, you're 22. Like I'm a 38-year-old father of 2 and you're comparing yourself to me. What are you thinking? Like we shouldn't even be in the same conversation.
What do they say that's not impressive?
Like I'll get trolled for like trap bar deadlifts or for like a broad jump or like for like running times or speeds on an assault, air treadmill, whatever, assault treadmill.
I can do that too.
And people are like, that's not impressive. And I'm like, you're 22.
I never said it was number one.
This is literally just like a page of like what I do each day.
Well,
Okay.
You should tell them that you have like some really bad chronic disease that you've been dealing with your whole life, so they feel really bad about themselves.
I mean, I do have melanoma. I'm technically a cancer survivor, Jake, just so you know.
Okay. Well, say you're like a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
You know? You got problems. You got problems with your feet. You got neuropathy.
Just one up it. It's like I have gout. God damn it! What do you know about this? To wear 2 shoe sizes bigger than normal. I hope nobody with gout's actually listening to this. That might have been offensive. Are you still doing your podcast?
Yeah, man. I just actually did one
talk
right before
about
this.
yeah, talk about that too.
I did it with Isaiah Rivera, one of the pro dunkers out there. So either right now it's getting the story of the pro dunkers, or it's doing something around pain and performance, like jumping.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all I care about. But I'm trying to get all these pro dunkers. Some of them are kind of hard to get a hold of, because it's like this. I think the stories are very interesting because these people think, just like with anything, but with jumping, they're like, what is the secret? Like, look at my technique. What do I need to fix about my technique to jump higher? And what exercise do I need to do? What's the best thing? And it's like, listen to all these pro dunkers, and it's just like, dude, I jumped for years, and then I had knee issues, and I dealt with the knee issues, and I kept strength training, and I did some sprints, or it's just like the most basic stuff that everyone already knows. And it's like, there are no secrets for these guys getting to the top of their game. They obviously have a genetic component to it. But if you don't, I think that genetic thing is like, if you have not done to the best of your ability, proper training, proper understanding of everything, you cannot pull the genetic card. Because you need to optimize everything first. So yeah, that's what the podcast is like now. It's just like those pro dunkers, and then stuff about pain, performance. And then you know what? I got to start shifting it about getting glazy again, because I haven't done a glaze episode in a while. Yeah. So I'm gonna need a hypertrophy guy on to tell me how to get that how to get chocolate glazed.
You need to have Matt on to learn how to be a worse athlete.
Based off what you said earlier, it sounds like you'll probably fall asleep during that podcast episode too.
Could we title it like Yukon Gold Physique?
The Yukon Gold Physique. I love it. All right. Thanks for being on, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
for
you,
sure, man.
Jake. Thank you very much.
Yeah.